Finally, I'm back up here with the 5th episode of Rate This Wrestler. This is a series which, it's a bit of fun, a general discussion about a certain wrestler or maybe a stable, depends what I feel like doing, just for about 10 or so minutes. Then I finish off by rating them, like as a letter grade, as far as just overall what I think of them. So it's a fun series. For this episode, I wanted to do Keith Lee because Keith Lee has been in the news in the past day or two, and as a result, it's a very topical kind of person to talk about. So Keith Lee, per dirt sheets, per rumors, per these newsletters about wrestling, is going to be going to the WWE Performance Center for a little bit to work on his, in-ring work, his psychology, because Vince McMahon isn't happy with Keith Lee's kind of performance in the ring. Now, this has been met with a lot of backlash, a lot of criticism, a lot of people online who are like, how dare you, Vince McMahon? Keith Lee is the perfect pro wrestler. And really, it's an interesting one because personally, I'm as big a Keith Lee fan as anyone. Especially back in June, July, August, September, I was basically Keith Lee's stan. Keith Lee, when he won the North American Championship and NXT Championship, when he won the NXT title, the Great American Bash, I was standing this guy hard. So I'm a massive fan of the guy. Personally, I think Keith Lee going back to the Performance Center for a little bit, it's pretty much harmless. Like, he's fine-tuning some things with his in-ring work. People are acting as if Vince has fired Keith Lee out of nowhere. That's the kind of reaction I've seen on wrestling Twitter. It's no big deal. Keith Lee's going to go back there, do some big man classes, big man sessions, fine-tune a few things as far as his in-ring work, and then 2021 Keith Lee will be in the main event picture, doing all that kind of stuff. Because if you watched Keith Lee's WWE 24 special, when did that come out? A week ago? If you watch that, you'll fully understand that Vince McMahon, he wants to believe in Keith Lee, and he sees plenty of promise there, as you should. If you have two working eyeballs and a functioning brain, you can tell that this guy, Keith Lee, is money. This guy brings charisma to the table. He brings legitimacy to the table. He's entertaining. He brings all the kind of things that you want. He's not just some random 5'7", vanilla midget who's gonna do the same moves as all the other vanilla midgets on the roster. He's different, he's special, he's interesting, he's compelling. So in that regard, Vince McMahon sees something there. And I remember that, in the WWE 24 special they had Keith Lee and Vince McMahon in gorilla position, and Vince was talking to him, and it's oh, make me believe. You have all the talent, just make me believe in you, Keith. So Vince McMahon definitely sees stuff in this guy. And once again, as you should, Keith Lee is brilliant. One of the things that's been not revealed, but leaks, rumored in the past couple of days are the WrestleMania 37 potential matches. And one of them is a WWE Championship match, a triple threat match between Drew McIntyre, Brock Lesnar, and Keith Lee. And I thought to myself, okay, interesting. I'm a big fan of all three guys in that match, so I'm not going to say anything negative about that. I think Keith Lee being in the WWE title match at WrestleMania sounds awesome, and it's well deserved. Keith Lee is just fantastic, so I think if that happens, it would be awesome. Personally speaking, McIntyre versus Lesnar versus Lee is hardly a match I dream about. I'm sure come WrestleMania 37, if WWE do that, it'll be a fun match, it'll be enjoyable, it'll be entertaining, it'll be really good 10 to 14 minute triple threat match. But as far as dream matches for people at WrestleMania, maybe McIntyre versus Lee. I don't think Lesnar needs to be involved. Brock, if he comes back, I guess he's going to have to be in the main event picture because it's Brock, but I don't know. If you're going to have Keith Lee in the title match, just do Keith Lee versus McIntyre, or just do Keith Lee versus Brock one-on-one singles match. I think that'd be sick. You can call back to the Rumble last year. You can have, this past year, have Lee versus Brock. That'd be sick. Personally, I booked Lee versus Bobby Lashley for the US title at my WrestleMania, so there's plenty of things you can do with big Keith Lee. I think Keith Lee, his talent is, as he says, limitless. The guy can do basically everything. He can do flips and dives that someone his size should not be able to do, which at the same time is a bit of a blessing and a curse. If we remember back on Monday Night Raw, I forget when this was, a couple of weeks back, maybe a month ago, I don't know the exact date, Keith Lee did this I don't know, a suicide dive, or it might have been. He did an outside dive type move, and then he got kind of caught up on the ropes, and then literally landed head first on the apron, or neck first, And I watched that, I was like, ugh. Like, Keith Lee, his style, when it works, which is most of the time, it is sick. The moves he can do, the matches versus Dijakovic, where you've got Keith Lee doing bloody Spanish flies, flying off the top rope like he's 150 pounds. That is just mind-bogglingly amazing. But at the same time, there is a risk factor to that, and that's what Vince McMahon doesn't like. That's why Vince McMahon, I'd assume, presumably, is sending Keith Lee back to the Performance Center for a little bit, because a guy of this size, a talent like this, needs to be preserved. Bruce Pritchard himself said this, I think yesterday. He said that the NXT style is not really sustainable, as entertaining as it can be. It's not what they want on the main roster. On the main roster, you want guys who work like a Roman Reigns, a Cena, a style which, if Vince McMahon gives you that main event spotlight, if Vince McMahon gives you the keys to the city, and Vince McMahon pushes you to the moon, Vince McMahon gives you the main event spotlight, are you going to get injured because of your dangerous, risky in-ring style? And that's what it really boils down to when it comes to Keith Lee. Keith Lee is someone who Vince McMahon knows, presumably, that Keith Lee is main event talent all the way. This guy has everything you want. Vince McMahon wants to be a main event talent. He's got the natural size, the natural appeal, the charisma, the entertainment value, the moves, the gimmick, all that kind of stuff. But Vince McMahon doesn't want to push Keith Lee, give him the WWE title at WrestleMania, push him hard, and then come May 2021, Keith Lee breaks his neck trying a suicide dive because he's 350 pounds and something marginally goes wrong and he breaks his neck. That's the kind of thing Vince McMahon is trying to monitor. Vince McMahon sees all the talent with Keith Lee and wants him to tone back the in-ring moves that he does, which at the same time, it's one of Keith Lee's big selling points, that a guy of this size, a guy like this, can do moves which he realistically shouldn't be able to do. That's one of the big appealing points for Keith Lee. And Vince McMahon doesn't want Keith Lee to, get that main event push and then hurt himself, because some of these moves that Keith Lee does, like Keith Lee doing bloody top rope moonsaults, it's like, bruh. I mean, he can do them pretty well, sure, but you don't know. A man of that size doing constant moonsaults, constant Spanish flies, constant suicide dives, constant flips, it's going to catch up to you one day, and Vince McMahon doesn't want to give Keith Lee the keys to the city, and then Keith Lee injures himself doing it, because as I said earlier in the video, we saw it on Raw a month ago. Keith Lee tried a suicide dive, landed neck first on the apron. If luck wasn't on his side, that could be a year-long neck injury that Keith Lee never recovers from. So, yeah, Vince McMahon just wants to make sure Keith Lee's style is more safe. I think him going back to the PC to kind of fine-tune a bit of that, that's all good. It's going to make Keith Lee a better in-ring worker, because at the end of the day, Vince McMahon knows more about wrestling than anyone in the community as far as, the talents themselves and how they work, and how talents should work to make sure they have longevity. Because at the end of the day, Vince McMahon just wants to make money, and he's not going to make money from pushing someone, and that someone has a risky in-ring style, and then that person's going to hurt themselves, and then Vince is screwed. Okay, Vince is looking out for himself at the end of the day, and I guess the safety of Keith Lee. So, yeah, he's going back to the PC to monitor his moves. I think he'll do that. He'll come back 2021, Keith Lee. He won't win the Rumble, I don't think, but he's going to be in a marquee spotlight at WrestleMania. I think Keith Lee is just meant for that. Big Keith Lee, WrestleMania 37. Whether that's a triple threat match with McIntyre and Lesnar for the WWE title, whether that's a match one-on-one versus Brock, whether that's a one-on-one title match versus McIntyre, whatever Keith Lee's involved in, I'm interested to see, because Keith Lee is just simply amazing. So, I guess that leads me into the rate this wrestler kind of portion of this video. Keith Lee, if I had to give him a number grade, I'd give him between an 8 and a 9. I think I'm not just going to give him a 10. Yes, he's the full package as far as what you look for in a pro wrestler. Holistically, charisma, entertainment value, moves, all that kind of stuff. Psychology to an extent, but not really. So he's got basically the full package there. But as far as, he does have stuff to work on. He's going back to the Performance Center to fine-tune some stuff. He can improve his promos just a little bit. He's very good, but not just oh my god, he's amazing at everything. So, in that regard, I'm giving Keith Lee an 8.5 out of 10, which, letter-wise, that relates to an A- or an A. He's not quite there as far as being an A+, 10 out of 10 talent, because wrestlers usually always have something to work on. There's always something wrestlers can get better at, so I'm not going to give him an A+, 10 out of 10, but boy oh boy, Keith Lee has got near enough it all going for him, so hopefully he has nothing but success in 2021 WWE Champion in 2021, we hope, for Keith Lee. That'd be dope. So yeah, that's been the video. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed. If you have, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and drill. See ya.